Your living room is judging you, right now as you sit there. Every throw pillow, every coffee table book, every carefully placed succulent is whispering secrets about who you really are. Your walls are talking. Your furniture is gossiping. Your color choices are broadcasting your deepest fears and hidden desires to anyone who knows how to decode the language of interior psychology. But here's the twist that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. You think you're decorating your space, but the truth is your space has been decorating you all along, like a psychological mirror wrapped in throw blankets and Instagram filters. Your home isn't just reflecting your taste, it's actually shaping your brain, rewiring your neural pathways and programming your emotional responses every single day. Welcome to the hidden science of environmental psychology, where your accent wall might be more powerful than your therapist. Picture this. You walk into someone's home and immediately feel something. Maybe it's warmth, maybe it's tension, maybe it's that weird energy that makes you want to leave immediately. That's not intuition. That's your brain processing thousands of visual cues faster than you can consciously register them. Researchers have discovered that humans make personality judgments about homeowners within the first few seconds of entering their space, and these snap judgments are accurate about 80% of the time. Your brain is essentially a detective, and your living space is a crime scene full of psychological evidence. The minimalist with their sparse white walls and single-potted plant isn't just following a trend, they're revealing a deep need for control in a chaotic world. Minimalism is the visual equivalent of meditation, a desperate attempt to create peace through emptiness. Studies show that people who gravitate toward minimalist decor often score higher on anxiety scales and perfectionist tendencies. That empty bookshelf isn't about aesthetics. It's about the overwhelming fear that too much stuff equals too much chaos. When your environment feels out of control, your mind feels out of control. So you strip everything away, hoping that less stuff means less stress. But here's the psychological plot twist. Sometimes the emptiness you create on the outside mirrors the emptiness you're trying to fill on the inside. Now look at the maximalist living across town. Every surface covered, every wall bursting with art, photographs, collections, and memories. You might think they're just messy or indecisive, but maximalists are actually emotional archaeologists. Each object tells a story, holds a memory, represents a piece of their identity they refuse to let go. Research suggests that people who surround themselves with abundant decor often have higher levels of openness to experience and stronger attachment to their personal history. That collection of vintage teacups isn't clutter, it's a security blanket made of porcelain. Every trinket is a tiny anchor to a moment that mattered. But sometimes the fear of forgetting becomes so strong that you end up living in a museum of your own past, unable to make room for your future. Color choices are where your subconscious really starts screaming. That person obsessed with gray and beige isn't playing it safe, they're hiding. Neutral colors are the psychological equivalent of camouflage, allowing you to blend into the background of your own life. Studies in color psychology reveal that people who consistently choose muted tones often struggle with decision-making and fear of judgment. Gray is the color of indecision, beige is the shade of playing small. When you're afraid to take up space in the world, you choose colors that help you disappear. Your walls become an extension of your desire to be invisible. Meanwhile, the person painting their bedroom deep purple or electric blue is making a statement louder than they might realize. Bold colors correlate with higher levels of creativity, risk-taking, and emotional intensity. But there's a darker side to this chromatic courage. Sometimes bright colors are overcompensation, a desperate attempt to inject energy into a life that feels drained. That shocking pink accent wall might be less about confidence and more about the fear that without artificial stimulation you'll fade into nothing. Color becomes a drug, a way to feel something when everything else feels numb. Furniture placement reveals power dynamics you didn't even know existed in your own mind. The person whose couch faces the door isn't just thinking about conversation flow. They're revealing a deep need to control their environment and monitor potential threats. This arrangement stems from an evolutionary survival mechanism where keeping your back to the wall meant staying alive. Environmental psychologists have found that people who consistently arrange furniture to face entrances often score higher on vigilance and anxiety measures. Your living room layout isn't about feng shui, it's about the parts of your brain that are still convinced danger is coming through the front door. The opposite extreme, furniture arranged to face inward with backs to entrances, suggests either supreme confidence or dangerous naivety. These homeowners often score higher on trust scales but sometimes lack healthy boundaries. When your couch turns its back on the world, you might be turning your back on reality. That cozy conversation pit isn't just inviting. It's potentially a psychological fortress where you hide from everything happening outside your carefully curated bubble. Art choices are perhaps the most revealing aspect of your psychological landscape. The person with abstract art covering their walls isn't trying to seem sophisticated. They're seeking complexity and ambiguity because straightforward answers feel too simple for their complicated inner world. Studies suggest that preference for abstract art correlates with higher tolerance for ambiguity and cognitive complexity. That Jackson Pollock knockoff isn't about aesthetics. It's about finding beauty in chaos because your internal world feels chaotic too. When life doesn't make sense, you're drawn to art that doesn't make sense either. Conversely, those who fill their homes with realistic landscapes or portrait photography are often seeking stability and clarity. They want their art to tell clear stories because their own story sometimes feels confusing. Representational art provides comfort through recognition. When everything else feels uncertain, you need your walls to show you things you can identify and understand. But sometimes this need for clarity becomes a prison, keeping you trapped in the familiar. When growth requires embracing the unknown, plant choices reveal your relationship with responsibility and growth. The person with a house full of thriving plants isn't just good at watering. They're demonstrating their ability to nurture and sustain life, often compensating for areas where they feel they failed in relationships or personal development. Successful plant parenting becomes proof of their capacity for care. But there's a shadow side to this green obsession. Sometimes the plants become substitutes for human connection, safer to love because they can't reject you or leave you. The opposite extreme, homes devoid of any living things, reveals a different psychological pattern. This isn't about being practical or low maintenance. It's often about the fear of responsibility and failure. If you can't keep a plant alive, at least you can't kill one either. The absence of plants becomes a protective strategy against the disappointment of watching something die under your care. Book displays tell stories about intellectual insecurity and aspirational identity. Those perfectly arranged coffee table books about art, travel, and philosophy aren't meant to be read. They're meant to be seen. They represent the person you want others to think you are rather than who you actually are. Research in social psychology shows that people often use book displays to signal intelligence and sophistication, especially when they feel insecure about their actual knowledge or achievements. That first edition Hemingway isn't about literature. It's about the fear that people won't take you seriously without proof of your intellectual worth. Technology integration reveals your relationship with the modern world and personal boundaries. The person whose home looks like an Apple store isn't just tech-savvy. They're often using technology as a barrier against genuine human connection. When every interaction is mediated by screens, you never have to risk real intimacy. That smart home system isn't about convenience. It's about control and the illusion that technology can solve emotional problems. But sometimes the more connected your devices become, the more disconnected you feel from yourself and others. The hidden psychological truth about home decor is that every choice you make is both a reflection of who you are and an attempt to become who you think you should be. Your space becomes a constant feedback loop, reinforcing certain behaviors and emotions while suppressing others. The colors you choose affect your mood, which affects your behavior, which reinforces your color choices. It's a psychological carousel you might not even realize you're riding. Environmental psychology research has shown that our surroundings can increase or decrease stress hormones, affect creativity levels, and even influence major life decisions. That cluttered desk isn't just messy, it's actually making it harder for your brain to focus and process information. Those dark, cramped spaces aren't just uninviting, they're potentially contributing to depression and anxiety. Your home isn't neutral territory. It's an active participant in your mental health. The most fascinating discovery is that making conscious changes to your environment can literally rewire your brain. Researchers have found that people who intentionally modify their living spaces to reflect desired changes in their lives often experience actual psychological transformation. It's not just about fake it till you make it. It's about creating an environment that supports the version of yourself you want to become. Your decor becomes a form of behavioral therapy, gently nudging you toward new patterns and possibilities. But here's where it gets really interesting. The most psychologically healthy homes aren't the most perfect ones. They're the ones that feel authentically lived in, where the decor reflects genuine interest rather than perceived expectations. Studies show that people who prioritize authenticity over aspiration in their home choices report higher levels of life satisfaction and lower stress. That mismatched furniture isn't a design failure. It's a sign of someone comfortable with imperfection, someone who values function and meaning over appearance and approval. The real power of understanding what your decor says about you isn't about judgment or change for the sake of change. It's about awareness. When you understand the psychological drivers behind your choices, you can make more intentional decisions about your environment. Maybe you realize that your obsession with neutral colors is about fear, and you're ready to add some bold elements. Maybe you discover that your maximalist tendencies are about control, and you're willing to let go of some objects that no longer serve you. Mirror placement reveals your relationship with self-image and personal truth. People who avoid mirrors in their main living spaces often struggle with self-acceptance, while those who strategically place mirrors everywhere might be seeking constant validation or trying to create an illusion of larger space to compensate for feeling small in the world. That antique mirror in your hallway isn't just functional. It's a daily confrontation with how you see yourself versus how you want to be seen. Lighting choices expose your relationship with mood and energy. The person who relies solely on overhead fluorescent lighting is often disconnected from their emotional needs, choosing harsh practicality over nurturing ambiance. Meanwhile, homes filled with warm, layered lighting suggest someone who understands that environment affects emotion. But excessive reliance on candlelight and dim spaces can indicate depression or a desire to hide from clarity. Research shows that lighting directly impacts serotonin production, meaning your lamp choices are literally affecting your brain chemistry every day. Scent and texture preferences reveal sensory processing patterns and emotional regulation strategies. People who fill their homes with heavy fabrics, multiple throw pillows, and complex textures are often seeking sensory comfort and security. Touch becomes a way to ground yourself when the world feels unstable. Conversely, homes with minimal textures and stark surfaces might indicate sensory overload issues or a need to maintain emotional distance. That velvet couch isn't just stylish, it's therapy disguised as furniture. Storage habits expose your relationship with control and future anxiety. The person with perfectly organized closets and hidden storage solutions is often trying to maintain control over chaos they can't control elsewhere. Every labeled container is an attempt to bring order to a life that feels unpredictable. But excessive organization can become a compulsion where the act of organizing replaces actually living. On the flip side, people who let everything remain visible and accessible often struggle with follow-through and completion. When you can see everything, you're constantly reminded of unfinished projects and unmet goals. Your storage choices become a reflection of how you handle responsibility and overwhelm. Your home is telling your story whether you realize it or not. Every room is a chapter, every decoration is a sentence, every color choice is punctuation in the narrative of your life. The question isn't whether your space reflects your psychology. The question is whether you're conscious enough to read what it's saying and brave enough to edit the story when necessary. Your walls are listening. Your furniture is watching. Your decor is documenting every fear, every hope, every secret you carry. So what story is your space telling, and is it the story you want to live? Share your biggest home decor realization in the comments below, and if you're ready to decode more hidden psychology in everyday life, smash that subscribe button and hit the like button because understanding yourself starts with understanding everything around you.